This week's Nintendo Direct was jam-packed with many surprises, including the announcement of an N64 games coming to the Switch Online service. It had been speculated for quite some time now that this would happen, and of course part of that speculation was which games would be included with the service at launch. Ocarina of Time was one of those speculated games, but many doubted that it would be included with the service's launch, since there were and are heavy rumors that it's going to be remade for the Switch. Today we're going to discuss the possibility that we still see Ocarina of Time remade for the Switch, even with this week's announcement that the classic Zelda adventure will be included with the launch titles coming to the Switch Online membership service. Be sure to like, subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already, and without wasting any more time, let's jump into this. Of course, it's easy to say that we'll never see an Ocarina of Time remake for the Switch now that we will have access to it with the upgraded Switch Online service. However, that isn't entirely true. Nintendo is already double dipping with one game. They had just done a limited release last year of Super Mario All-Stars, a collection of games which included the fan favorite Super Mario 64. Although this game wasn't a full remake, it was remastered and improved and optimized to work better for the Switch. With this past week's announcement of N64 games making their way to the Switch, it was seen and included in there that Super Mario 64 is also one of the games that will be playable at launch. This came as a surprise to us, since you figure they wouldn't want to include a game they had just released last year with improvements on the original version. And it's only safe to assume that this N64 Switch Online version of Super Mario 64 will be the cut and dry version of the original game. This opens up many possibilities though, since Nintendo is seemingly not afraid to release the same game multiple times on the same system within a year of each other. So for Ocarina of Time's sake, it's very possible that it could still be fully remade and released for the Switch next year or even a few years down the line. I don't think that having Ocarina of Time on the N64 service is going to hinder the possibility that it gets remade, and that's mainly because Nintendo also knows that people will buy a full-on remake of the game even if they just played the original on the same system. There could also be an argument made for how we won't see Ocarina of Time remade for the Switch now because of the inclusion of the game on the N64 service. Why would Nintendo waste their time and resources on remaking a game that's already playable on their current system? Yes, it's locked behind an upgraded version of their online service, but it's still accessible, and if someone wants to play it, they easily can. It's also possible that they want all the new Zelda players to experience Ocarina of Time in its original form, so they can appreciate the timeless classic the game really is. But with that being said, a full remake of this game would be an easy sell to the new members of the Zelda fanbase and community, since it would create more buzz than Skyward Sword HD got. It's also possible that Nintendo is indeed working on an Ocarina of Time remake, and that it may be planned to release with whatever their next console ends up being. It's tough to speculate on what that would be now, since we have the Switch OLED coming in just a few weeks, and seemingly Nintendo wants to stick with the Switch for as long as possible. Either way, I don't think that it's impossible for us to still get a remake of Ocarina of Time on Switch. It may just be a little longer of a wait than anticipated with all the heavy rumors that have been floating around for the past 6 months or so. Instead of this game potentially releasing early next year, we'll have to wait until at least a year from now to hear more about it. Since that's what Nintendo did with Super Mario 64, and how just 1 year ago it was announced that a better version of that game will be coming out in a collection, and now the original will be available to play starting in October. It's also important to note that any hopes of an Ocarina of Time in Majora's Mask collection should be tread carefully, since that's seemingly not going to happen now that both games will be playable on the N64 emulator for Switch Online. Let's keep our eyes and ears open though, and hope that we will still get to see this all-time classic Zelda adventure fully remade for the Switch, even if it is going to take another year or two. Thanks everyone for joining us today for this video. We appreciate all the support and engagement we get every day from you guys, so make sure you let us know your thoughts on everything we covered today below, and we'll do our best to read through and respond to them all. Thanks again for joining us today. We hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you all in the next one.